My foster mom screamed at me for showing porn to my foster brother, which was a lie. She never saw what was coming next. I, 16F, have been in foster care since I was 10. For the past 2 years, I have been living with the Millers, John, 42M, and Karen, 39F. They also have 2 biological kids, Mike, 14M, and Sarah, 12F. At first, things seemed okay, but over time, the situation got worse. The Millers always treated me differently from their own kids. They gave Mike and Sarah new clothes, toys, and electronics, but I only got hand-me-downs or cheap stuff from thrift stores. I didn't mind this too much because I was used to not having nice things. What really bothered me was how they acted towards me. Karen often yelled at me for small mistakes, like not folding the laundry perfectly or leaving a dish in the sink. She called me lazy, ungrateful, and stupid. John never yelled, but he ignored me most of the time. When he did talk to me, it was usually to criticize something I did or to remind me that I should be thankful they took me in. Mike and Sarah picked up on their parents' behavior and started treating me badly too. They made fun of my clothes, excluded me from family activities, and blamed me for things they did wrong. Once, Mike broke a vase while playing ball in the house, but he told his parents I did it. I got grounded for 2 weeks and had to do extra chores as punishment. School was my only escape. I did well in my classes and had a few good friends. My teachers seemed to like me, and I felt normal there. But coming home was always hard. I feared walking through the door, never knowing what I'd be yelled at for that day. The worst part was during meals. The Millers often had nice family dinners with good food, but I wasn't allowed to eat with them. Karen would make me a separate meal, usually something cheap and basic like plain pasta or a sandwich. I had to eat alone in the kitchen while they enjoyed their meal in the dining room. They said it was because I was ungrateful for the food they provided, but I never complained about the meals. I tried really hard to please them. I did all my chores without being asked, got good grades, and never talked back. But nothing seemed to make them happy. Karen would find something to criticize no matter what I did. John would just sigh and shake his head, like I was a huge disappointment. There were some really bad incidents too. Once I got sick at school and threw up. The nurse called Karen to pick me up, but she refused. She said I was probably faking it to get attention. I had to sit in the nurse's office all day with a fever until John finally came to get me after work. When we got home, Karen yelled at me for disturbing everyone. Another time, Sarah stole money from Karen's purse. When Karen noticed the missing cash, she immediately accused me. I told her I didn't do it, but she didn't believe me. She searched my room and went through all my things. She didn't find the money, but she found a journal where I had written about how unhappy I was living with them. This made her even angrier. She ripped up my journal and grounded me for a month. I later overheard Sarah confessing to Mike that she took the money, but she never told her parents the truth. Despite all this, I never told anyone what was happening. My social worker visited every few months, but I always said everything was fine. I was afraid of what would happen if I complained. I didn't want to be moved to another foster home and have to start over again, and part of me hoped that if I was good enough for long enough, the Millers would eventually accept me. I did try to hint at the problems once. During a visit with my social worker, I mentioned that I often ate dinner alone in the kitchen. She asked if that bothered me, and I shrugged and said it was okay. She didn't push the issue. After she left, Karen cornered me and warned me not to say anything negative about them again. She said if I caused trouble, they'd send me away and make sure I ended up somewhere much worse. This threat scared me into staying quiet. I knew the foster care system could be really bad, and I was afraid of ending up in a worse situation. At least with the Millers, I had a roof over my head, food to eat, and could go to a good school. I told myself it wasn't that bad, and I could handle it until I turned 18 and aged out of the system. But recently, something happened that made me question everything. My English teacher, Ms. Thompson, assigned a personal essay about our lives. I wrote about my experiences in foster care, including some of the things the Millers did. I changed the names and some details, but it was basically true. My teacher was really concerned after reading it. She asked me if I was okay and if I needed help. I panicked and told her it was just a story I made up. I don't think she believed me, but she didn't push it. Now I'm worried my teacher might report something to child services. Part of me hopes she does because I'm so tired of living like this, but I'm also terrified of what might happen. What if they investigate and decide it's not bad enough to remove me? The Millers would be furious and things would get even worse. Or what if they do remove me, but I end up somewhere even more terrible? I feel guilty for not speaking up sooner. Maybe if I had said something when the problems first started, things could have been fixed. Now it feels like it's too late. I'm also worried about Mike and Sarah. They're not bad kids, they just copy what their parents do. If I report the Millers, it could mess up their lives too. I don't know what to do. Should I finally tell someone the truth about what's been happening? Or should I keep quiet and try to tough it out for 2 more years until I'm 18? I feel so confused and conflicted. I can't talk to my friends about this because I'm embarrassed and afraid they'll think differently of me if they know the truth. I can't talk to any adults because I don't trust them not to report things, and I'm not sure if I want that to happen or not. So I'm turning to Reddit for advice. Should I speak up now or just try to get through the next 2 years? What would you do in my situation? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect so many responses. Thank you to everyone who took the time to read my post and offer advice. I'm reading through all the comments and thinking hard about what to do. To those asking why I haven't run away, I've thought about it, but I'm scared of ending up on the streets or in an even worse situation. And to those saying this post is fake, I wish it was. I know my situation isn't as bad as what some foster kids go through, which is partly why I've been unsure if I should say anything. But reading your comments is helping me realize that what the Millers are doing isn't okay, even if it's not the worst-case scenario. I'm going to seriously consider talking to my social worker or a school counselor. Thanks again for all the support and advice. Update. Hey everyone. It's been about a month since my original post and a lot has happened. I'm writing this update from a new, safe place. Here's what went down. About 2 weeks after I made my first post, I was in my room listening to music with my headphones on. It was a rare, peaceful moment. Suddenly, Karen burst in, looking furious. She yanked my headphones off and started yelling at me. I was confused at first because I couldn't understand what she was saying. When I finally got her to slow down, I realized she was accusing me of corrupting Mike. I had no idea what she meant. I asked her several times to explain what she thought I had done. Finally, she told me that. She had caught Mike watching porn on his computer. Apparently, when she confronted him, he told her that I was the one who showed him that stuff first. I was shocked. I had never done anything like that. I tried to tell Karen that Mike was lying, but she wouldn't listen. She kept screaming at me, calling me disgusting and saying I was trying to ruin her family. I started crying and pleading with her to believe me. John came in, attracted by all the noise. Karen told him what Mike had said, and he joined in yelling at me. They were both in my face, screaming and threatening to call my social worker to have me removed. I was sobbing and trying to defend myself, but they wouldn't let me get a word in. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I heard another voice. I looked up and saw my English teacher, Ms. Thompson, standing in the doorway. She had a shocked expression on her face. Next to her was a woman I didn't recognize, who I later learned was a child welfare officer. Everything happened really fast after that. Ms. Thompson asked what was going on, and Karen started ranting about how I had shown Mike pornography. The welfare officer asked me if this was true. Still crying, I managed to say no, and that I didn't understand why Mike would lie about me like that. The welfare officer asked John and Karen to step out of the room so she could talk to me alone. They refused at first, but she insisted. Once they left, she asked me to tell her everything. At first, I was hesitant. I had kept quiet for so long that it felt wrong to suddenly spill everything. But Ms. Thompson encouraged me, saying that my essay had worried her enough to report her concerns, and that's why they were there. So I told them everything. I talked about the separate meals, the verbal abuse, the unfair punishments, and all the other things I had put up with. I showed them my shabby clothes compared to Mike and Sarah's nice ones. I even mentioned my original Reddit post, though I didn't tell them the username I used. The welfare officer took a lot of notes and asked me many questions. She was especially concerned about the threat Karen had made about sending me somewhere worse if I complained. Ms. Thompson looked like she was about to cry several times during my explanation. After I finished talking, the welfare officer told me to pack a bag with my essential belongings. She said I wouldn't be staying with the Millers anymore. I felt a mix of relief and fear. I was glad to be leaving, but I was scared about where I would end up next. While I was packing, I could hear raised voices from downstairs. The welfare officer was confronting John and Karen about what I had told her. They were denying everything and saying I was a liar who was ungrateful for everything they had done for me. When I came downstairs with my bag, Mike and Sarah were there too. Mike looked scared and Sarah was crying. I felt bad for them, even though they had been mean to me. I knew their lives were about to change too. The welfare officer told John and Karen that I would be placed in emergency foster care while they investigated my claims. Karen started yelling again, saying I had planned this all along to ruin their family. John just looked angry and defeated. As we were about to leave, Mike suddenly blurted out that he had lied about me showing him porn. He admitted that he had found it on his own and blamed me because he was scared of getting in trouble. Karen looked shocked, but she still glared at me like it was somehow my fault. The next few days were a blur. I was placed with an emergency foster family temporarily. I had to talk to more social workers and even a police officer about my time with the Millers. It was exhausting having to tell my story over and over. But I also felt relieved to finally be honest about everything. I found out that Ms. Thompson had been worried about me for a while. My essay wasn't the only thing that had concerned her. She said I often seemed sad and withdrawn at school, and she had noticed that my clothes were always worn out. When she read my essay, she felt she couldn't ignore her concerns anymore and decided to report them. About a week after I left the Millers, I got some surprising news. Ms. Thompson had applied to become a foster parent. She asked if I would like to live with her once she was approved. I was amazed that she would do that for me. I said yes immediately. It took a couple of weeks for everything to be arranged, but now I'm living with Ms. Thompson. It's only been a few days, but already it's so different from living with the Millers. She's kind and patient, and she actually seems happy to have me around. I have my own room, and she took me shopping for new clothes. For the first time in years, I have outfits that actually fit me and aren't hand-me-downs. Ms. Thompson, she asked me to call her Rachel at home, but it still feels weird, is helping me deal with everything that happened. She found a therapist for me to talk to, which is helping a lot. I'm starting to understand that none of what happened with the Millers was my fault, and that it's okay for me to be angry about how they treated me. I'm also catching up on normal teenager stuff that I missed out on. Rachel is teaching me how to cook, we watch movies together, and she's even talking about maybe getting a dog. It's strange to feel so comfortable and safe in a home. Sometimes I still expect to be yelled at or punished for small mistakes, but Rachel is always patient when that happens. As for the Millers, I heard that they're being investigated by Child Services. They're not allowed to foster any more kids, at least for now. I feel bad for Mike and Sarah, because this must be hard for them too. But I hope maybe this will be a wake-up call for John and Karen to treat people better. I've thought a lot about whether I should have spoken up sooner. Part of me still feels guilty for not saying anything earlier. But Rachel and my therapist are helping me understand that I was just trying to survive in a bad situation, and it wasn't my job to fix things. I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your words of encouragement and advice helped me realize that what was happening wasn't okay. I wish I could say that I bravely stood up and reported everything myself, but the truth is that it took other adults stepping in to make things better. I'm just glad that Ms. Thompson cared enough to do something. To anyone else out there who might be in a similar situation, please don't stay quiet like I did. I know it's scary to speak up, but there are people who will help you. You don't deserve to be treated badly, no matter what anyone tells you. I'm not sure what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm actually hopeful. I feel safe, cared for, and like I might have a chance at a normal life. It's going to take time to heal from everything that happened, but I finally feel like I have the support I need to do that. Thank you again to everyone who read my story and offered support. It means more than you know. Edit. Wow, I'm overwhelmed by all the supportive comments and messages. Thank you all so much. To those asking about pressing charges against the Millers, I'm not sure yet. I'm focusing on healing right now, but I'll consider it in the future. And yes, I'm still going to the same school, which is nice because I get to keep my friends. Things are definitely looking up, and I'm taking it one day at a time. Thanks again for all the kindness and encouragement.